Good evening. Welcome to yet another episode of the Sudhir Mishra show. We are in the 16th edition today, and it's a very important show. The reason being that we are getting a young woman icon today, whom I met 3 weeks back in London. And I realized that a lot of my notions of my generation, who has been practicing law for more than 2 decades, actually changed after meeting her, and realized that what is going to propel the legal profession in future and what kind of energy we are going to witness. She is a lawyer from Indian origin. She is a partner of a large UK law firm. She heads their India desk. And before I welcome her, I'll tell her that she's hardworking, she is resilient, but more than that, her attitude towards life, her foundation is so strong that I'm seriously telling you, this will be a blockbuster interview. Before I call her, I'll read my friend Atika Farooqi's very famous poetry about achievers, and especially achievers when we talk about legal profession where still women don't get their due, whether it's the judiciary, whether it's the litigation, whether it's the corporate law firms. And when we get such icons, we really get excited. So I'll say what Atika says. महंगे लिबास, कीमती जेवर, ऊंची सैंडल, मुखौटों के पीछे के मलाल पहचान न पाओगे. महंगे लिबास, कीमती जेवर, ऊंची सैंडल, मुखौटों के पीछे के मलाल पहचान न पाओगे. कामयाब औरतें कुछ इस अदा से मुस्कुराती हैं कि उनके दिल के असल हाल कभी जान न पाओगे. Welcome, Shivani, to our show, and it's a pleasure to host you today. You can switch on your camera. Yeah. You're mute. I can't hear you here. Yeah. No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Just something is there. No, it's not working. It's not working. Just check it out again, the connection. No. Join back. Try joining back again. It happens sometime because we can't hear you. Ashima, can you hear? Yeah. Just 1 second. Shivani, speak.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay, well, despite that little glitch, I'm very, very excited to be on this show. Thank you so much, Sudhir, for that very warm and kind welcome.
And Shivani, let me tell you, we had 2 women achievers who are here, and I have promised the viewers that this will be your journey, something which will inspire hundreds of lawyers, thousands of young law students. Tell us about your early life. Tell us about what actually got you excited about law, how it came in your domain.
So that's a very good question. So I grew up in Delhi. I went to school in Delhi, and I went, and my parents are lawyers. And the funny thing is, they did not want me to be a lawyer. They wanted me to be a doctor. But I don't think I had the right passion to justify being a doctor. And so I wanted to be either a lawyer to fuel my intellectual curiosity, or be a designer so that I can follow my creative passions. That choice became very simple because this is after I completed my class 12. I would stay up late to study for the law entrance exams, and I was up late. So the next morning was my NIFT exam, National Institute of Fashion Technology, and I didn't wake up in time for it. So that choice became very simple, and so that's how I got into law. Despite no one else wanting me to be a lawyer, and me also having two points where I could have gone.
Wow. So you joined Nalsar, one of the premier law schools in India, and you passed out in 2010, if I understand it correctly. Yeah. So the point is, it was not your first preference. But like Harivansh Rai Bachchan says, one of the best poets we had, man ka ho to acha, man ka na ho to aur bhi acha. And in your journey, which you will recount in next 30-40 minutes, you will talk about many such events. where you thought that this is going to happen, but something else kept on happening. But one thing which will define and what everybody will remember today, that your resilience and your acceptance and taking it head on, that is what defines. So what was the best memories of Nalsar?
There's so many memories, I'd lived in Delhi all my life until then, and we were suddenly in the middle of literally nowhere because it was on the outskirts of the city of Hyderabad, outside Secunderabad as well. And it was, I think we really learned about life because we met people from so many different backgrounds, so many different cities and states in India, and we all came together for a common purpose. And I think the friendships we made there are lifelong. So I think that is the best part about Nalsar.
And if I understand correctly, you got a offer to the city where we are talking to you. Your London diary starts from, London dream starts from Nalsar campus. How did that happen, and how it took you to Saat Samundar Par?
So like you said, some things in life are not planned, and this was one of the same things. So in 2008, there was a time when the legal market in India was on the brink of being liberalized. So I think because of that reason, a lot of the city law firms in London were coming to the national law schools to recruit Indian law students. So in 2008, a Silver Circle law firm called S.J. Berwin came to the Nalsar campus. And I, along with two other of my batchmates, was offered a vacation scheme, which is like a 2-week internship. And at that time, I just took it.
Which year was that? That was your final year?
No, 2008. So it was my fourth year.
Fourth year.
Fourth year, fifth year. It was end of fourth year, beginning of fifth year. And so that's how it. I came to London, and my plan was just to do those 2 weeks and go back. But after that, they offered me a 2-year training contract, which means you do 4 different practice areas, so 6 months each before you decide to specialize in one of them. I wasn't sure.
I'll interrupt you. It's not that simple. People don't get 2-year training contract in UK even today. You are very modest, I know. You have to tell us what was so unique about your preparation, your performance, your hard work, which got you this 2-year training contract.
You're very kind, Sudhir. So I will tell a secret. The first time I applied, before I got my vacation scheme, the first time I applied for all these training contracts, I got rejections from every single firm I applied to. And then I sat down, thought about it creatively. That what are they really looking for? What is unique to me that I bring to the table? What is my commercial perspective? What is my business perspective? What is my creativity that I bring to the table? And I wrote my applications 2 months later with the exact same statistics, the same grades, same everything. And I got a lot more acceptances. So I think the if I have to give a message, the message is you have to think creatively about what is your brand value.
Wow. So this is what we want to get out, actually, the secret sauce, and which will keep on, because these 2 years is a very special thing. That's what I have been told by many lawyers who practice there. You again, another disruption is going to happen, that in your mind, in law school, you had thought about being a transactional lawyer. Your idea was to do a transactional lawyering, corporate law, whatever they call it. And you must have had a reason for that. You would have thought something. Now, how did disputes happen? Because when you'll talk about disputes, when your eyes actually lit up when you talk about disputes, that 2 a.m. stories when you didn't look at the clock. How did disputes happen to you, and why corporate law didn't happen?
So again, I think this is keeping in theme with, life doesn't go according to how you plan it. So all through law school, as you said, I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, do transactions, M&A, private equity. And all the internships I did in law schools, at Amarchand, Luthra, were all corporate law seats. And even in fact, when I came to London, my first year was M&A and private equity. And I was very clear, I do not want to be a disputes lawyer. But all of that changed in my second year in London when I joined the arbitration and litigation department at S.J. Berwin. And I remember, Sudhir, that in my first week, it was a Friday, and it was a bank holiday Monday. We got the client, who was a Russian private equity firm, got served with four freezing orders in the UK, Cyprus, Cayman Islands, and the British Virgin Islands. And it was VTB Bank that sued them in the English High Court for fraud and misrepresentation. And that case was a really integral part of my legal journey, because that case went to the UK High Court, the UK Court of Appeal, and the UK Supreme Court, and the BBI. And initially we kept losing, but eventually we had a winning streak, and we won in all four courts. And we discharged the freezing order, which is very hard to do, because once you get a freezing order, unless there are some very things have gone wrong, it's very hard to get it out. And so that case, I think, changed my perspective, because not only did I go to the Supreme Court in the UK in my very first year, and the UK Supreme Court only hears about 70 cases in a year. So it was a real privilege to be able to be before them. But it made me realize that I really have a passion for disputes. And there were many times during the whole 2-year period that I was working for more than 2 a.m., 3 a.m. But I realized I didn't mind it, because I really enjoyed what I was doing. So I think at that point I knew disputes it is, and that was my third department in my 2-year contract. And I asked the firm that, look, I know what I want to do, and it's disputes. So I don't actually want to do a seat at all, or a fourth department. This is what I want to specialize in. And they were kind enough to fast track me. And that's how I became a disputes lawyer.
And also at that time, there was every week recoding in your mind that you have to go back to India. Or this is the 1 year you will stay in London, and then you will plan something else. But how it kept on being repetitive for you, that you had one challenge and another challenge, or you call it an opportunity, and you stayed there and you enjoyed, and you didn't realize that it's more than a decade now. Tell us the X factors of that litigation. What did you learn from the QCs who were arguing? And what did you learn with your team with which you were working? What was changing in your mind and in your preparation from your law school and working for a multi-jurisdictional disputes?
That's a really good question, actually. And there's got many parts, so I'll try to answer all of them. In terms of the case which went to the Supreme Court, I mean, it's called VTB versus Nutritech, and it became a landmark judgment in the UK. And in fact, my brother did his LLM at UCL in London, and he had an entire module on that case. And that was a very proud moment for me. And I realized that the opportunity I had in front of me, it was not to be taken lightly. And I think just every step along the way was such a big learning curve. And I think the key messages for me that came out was that the devil is in the detail.
Right.
Cases are won based on you being very thorough and on top of the facts. Some fact that someone may overlook because they don't look that interesting or that relevant, may actually be what wins you the case, which is what happened in this case. There was one document which we call the nuclear document, and that completely destroyed the other side's case. And they had to actually apologize to the court in the middle of the hearing, which was absolutely phenomenal.
What is the word you used? Nuclear document. You're basically secret weapon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Asking you something like, just to take it before we go further with the journey, as a woman, you have seen people in your family who are lawyers. Litigation or disputes is something which was not unknown to you even as a child. And who were the people who were getting inspired beyond your family in Delhi when you were growing up? And who were the legal icons you were looking at, especially women? Because it's a huge task. And I'm telling you, because I have 2 amazing women partners in my firm. And I know for sure that what it means to me, because I don't have to worry in the morning that who is going to leave this and joining a category A law firm, because they are more loyal than me. and it means a lot to me. So why women leaders or women lawyers still are not getting their due, and when do you think this will start happening?
Again, a very good question. So I think answering your first bit of the question, which is about the icons who I look up to, I think India is full of so many inspiring people, both men and women. In terms of women, and when I was interning during NALSAR, I interned at AZB. So Zia Modi is obviously a big icon, not just me, for many, many women across the country. In Delhi, I also worked with Indra Jaising. So she is also a big icon, I would say. And I think, like you said, I think women bring a certain something to the table, which is different and unique to a woman. And yes, you're right. I think across the world, we are still not there where we would want to be ideally in terms of gender equality.
Yes.
But I think in India, in the UK, there have been major strides in the right direction.
Yes.
And I think the hope is that it will continue to be there, and soon it will get to a point. Maybe not soon. Maybe it will still take some decades, or maybe lesser, to get to a point where we forget that this was ever an issue.
Right. So I'll read a Amrita Preetham poetry for you. It's very interesting. It talks about the gap and the void which we have when it comes to, because everybody says if a woman is there, she has a lot of soul and all this emotional intelligence and other aspects which they teach you now, whether you are an MBA or a lawyer or in a law school, it's something which is very natural to them. So I'm reading it. Akal sirf kheton khalihanon mein nahi padta. Akal, drought, sirf kheton khalihanon mein nahi padta. लोगों की आत्माओं पे भी पड़ता है. लोगों की आत्माओं में भी पड़ता है. This is what Amrita Preetham said, that people, when it comes to gender, when it comes to sensitivity, when it comes to equality, the soul actually misses the targets most of the time. And that's why I'm very bullish what you just said, that yes, more and more women are joining the profession. And even when we get CV or you get CV in United Kingdom, I see it's now 60-40 ratio. 60% of the applicants are women, and they are invariably with a lot of soulfulness they have when they even do anything for you. That's my personal belief. Going back to your journey, your London diary, 12 years, and you had to come back. Take us to that journey and what all happened, what are the highlights professionally, and then the American law firm which gave you such a huge break, and then finally you joined Phil Fisher, which is one of the epic law firm in London for disputes. They have a signature practice. How did journeys evolving now?
So that's actually, I would really like to share that with everyone, and I hope it can benefit some of the younger women and the younger generation of law students.
Yes.
So I've already spoken about my 2 years at SJ Bergen, which was reduced to 1.5 years. And so here you know this, because I mentioned this to you. Every year I would tell my family that I am coming back to India, and I meant it. I'm close to my family, and I wanted to be with them. I was all alone in London, and it's nice, but you also want to be near home. So after the 1.5 years at SJ Bergen, my mentor, Justin Michelson, he moved to an American law firm called Fried Frank in London, and he asked me to join him. And I thought to myself that this is going to be a completely different culture. The working culture is different, and what I'd heard is it's one of those cultures where you either sink or swim. So I said, you know what, I really want to experience this. So I'm going to be here for a year, and then I'll go back to India. But I ended up being at Fried Frank for 6.5 years because the work I did was so fascinating, so engaging. And I simply couldn't say no to that experience. I did a lot of complex cross-border, high-value disputes, which often had a very multi-jurisdictional angle. So there were parallel proceedings happening in the UK, Russia, BVI, Cayman Islands, the usual suspects for those kind of cases which come out of the CIS region. And I'll tell you a little bit about some cases I did there. One was for the founder of the Telegram app, which I
Yes.
think a lot of people are
We all are
using now.
using it now. Yeah.
Yes, and so at that time, this is I think in 2012, 13, the first person I had on my Telegram app was Pavel Durov, who was the
Wow. The
founder
founder.
uh, of Telegram. And for him, we also did a case for the Russian Facebook. It's called vcontacted.com. So he,
Correct.
along with some others.
So what is the name? Come on.
vcontacted.com.
Okay. Okay.
vk.com.
PK.
It's yeah. So he's like the Mark Zuckerberg of Russia, I think. He may not like me saying that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And so it was a very, those cases were very interesting because they are something which are very relatable. So it's not something so technical and so discrete that it's, you can't. It has a real, it has a real life quotient to it. So did those cases, did some very interesting fraud cases for a big telecoms company called Vivacom, and all of my journey in Free Frank, I think, was just set me forward, set the stage for what was to come. Because I think when you work in an American law firm, you learn how to work under extreme pressure. You learn how to deliver excellent client service in the shortest time possible. And when you're going through it, it can be difficult. I think it holds you in good stead for the rest of your career. And I didn't just do one, I did two American law firms. So after Fried Frank, after 6.5 years, I moved to Covington and Berlin, their London office. And what was nice was that my old colleagues at S.J. Barwick were there. So it was a little bit like a reunion. And it's always nice to go back to and work with the same people. And I mean, most of that was actually, I was in the office for six to 8 months and the pandemic hit. So, the unique challenges working remotely in a pandemic, that whatever that brings was there as well. And again, Covington, great people, great work. So one of the cases I did was for a subsidiary of Warner Media. And what was interesting was that at the beginning of the case, we thought our chances of winning the case are about 51%. But at the end, the way the case developed and, just the details which you look into when you're running the case, got us to a point that we not only won the case 100%, the other side also paid our clients legal costs to a tune of 90%, which is quite rare, I would say.
Right.
So overall, that was a really, really exciting experience. Also because, we did the hearing during the pandemic and we were all living in a hotel in a bubble to do the hearing so that we don't catch COVID. So that was very exciting. But I think the highlight of my time at Covington, and you asked me what was challenging. I think the most challenging bit of work that I've done was last year at Covington when one of our clients one of our clients' companies got 7 emergency arbitration applications in a matter of 2 days.
7 emergency arbitration applications.
Yes, in a matter of 2 days with 7 different emergency arbitrators. And what that meant is that, it was under the SEC and the ICC rules. So it had to be completed in 5 days, including the hearing for the SEC, and 14 days, including the hearing for the ICC. And I think in those 2 weeks, I probably slept for 3 hours a day. But it was, you run on adrenaline.
So I think I'll just give you a pause because this is so timely what you just said. I saw you working on Holi. This Holi, we both were in your office. And I was thinking she has such a background. She should be celebrating Holi. Now I'm just hearing from you that you must not have slept for more than 3-4 hours. It's not a surprise. But when you get a success like this, that London is talking about a partner who is not even very old and conventionally you are 35, 40 or something like that. And here you are talking about a journey where 4 arbitrations parallelly you are starting in 2 different jurisdictions. So for you, Kafka has said something again in Hindi. You can tell your people, अपने सबसे बड़े जुनून को पूरा करने में, अपने सबसे बड़े जुनून को पूरा करने में पूरी निर्दयता बरतो. Be ruthless. That if your biggest aim in life is to do this, then you be ruthless about that aim. And that is what you have been doing. Is it right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when you are passionate about something, uh, even if you have to go through a hard journey
Yes.
to do it, it's very fulfilling.
Yeah. So coming to Field Fisher now. And before I say, I will tell viewers a very interesting thing, that when Field Fisher hires you, the London scene, because I'm a door tenant, so I travel more frequently in last 2 years than earlier. I realized that a typical India desk has many category A firms, category B firm, magic circle firms, people who are not India born, they are not dual qualified. They are people of eminence, no doubt about that. They are highly prolific lawyers. But you come with a very distinct identity with your background of India, understanding Indian legal system, being a prolific UK lawyer, because all your 12 years is not mostly on India practice. It's basically on CIS, Russia, hardcore London litigation. You are a terrific combination here, because now the India story has to happen where you have been given the charge post-pandemic. What do you have to say, and what brings Field Fisher in picture, and what is their unique advantage for Indian clients?
So that's I really like that question actually. And the first bit about Field Fisher. So Field Fisher, of course, I mean there were several factors which attracted me to Field Fisher. It's a leading international firm with 25 offices worldwide, but even despite being established, it's very innovative and entrepreneurial, and that's what makes it stand out. So, for example, Sudhir, I mentioned this to you when we met. They have something called FeeSolve, which is in-house funding platform. So the firm will put its own capital, will give its own capital to its disputes clients to fund their disputes, which is not something many law firms do. And of course, there is an access to justice point here. But from a commercial point of view, businesses who have a meritorious claim but don't want to tie up their monies in litigation can use this instead of going to the market for getting third-party funding, which also is now picking up a lot. But that's still, one step ahead, and that's still a little bit more difficult. If you have a firm which does it in-house, it's great. And I am using it for one of my clients right now, and they love it, right? So I think that's one factor. The other two things I would say is, of course, it's got a leading reputation in disputes. There's lots of synergy there. So they are focused on energy, media, telecoms, technology, financial services, which is all, which kind of resonates with my practice so far. So that obviously was a good synergy to have. And thirdly, and most importantly for me, they have a big geographic focus on India. And India, I mean, I've already told you, I wanted to go back to India every year. India is close to my heart. My entire family is there. My friends are there. Pre-pandemic, I would travel 4 or 5 times a year to India. So, I think doing this was the natural next step. And you made a very good point about, the unique position, how India is. And you're right, India is completely unique. The way we do business, the way we think, the way the legal systems work, even though it's common law, is totally unique to India.
Yeah.
And the India in 2022 is not what probably everyone doesn't understand how the India in 2022 works, right? And like you said, even if someone is of Indian origin, if they've not been in India, I've been out of India for a really long time, it's possible to have a disconnect because India is growing so fast, so dynamically, right? So I think what I would want to do in the next few years as head of India at Field Fisher is to bring this deep understanding of India and my 12 plus years working experience in London, and use that combination to give the best service to my clients, which picks up the best aspects of both the cultures.
Wow.
And
sorry, go ahead. You finish. You
no, I was almost done. I was just saying, I think it puts me in a good position, and I want to use it well.
Yes, I agree.
A two-way bridge between Indian clients Indian businesses in the UK business or international businesses who want to go to India because there's a lot of that happening.
I
So that's what I would hope to do.
I think we are at the end of our program. Before I'll ask you a few things. I realized this, that when we were talking, when I meet many London partners, especially who have an India interest, you cannot any longer talk about the fifth largest economy as if India, Iran, Kenya, South Africa practice. Even BRIC is something we are beyond BRICS now, and we are one of the few countries where our indirect taxes are more than our direct taxes, which shows the resilience in the economy. So you are right. If you can do complicated legal jurisdictions with such amazing, superb ability, what you did in CIS in Russia, I'm sure India is in your backyard and you will get that advantage for your firm. But before we come to the last part, and I'll do one Atika Faruqi at the end, you told me many times that detailing is everything for a litigation lawyer. You also told me that understand your client's business. Now, these are the things which younger lawyers have to understand. What do you mean by that? Then the last one is, you mentioned, I asked what is the special USP. You said that out of the box thinking. So clients understanding his needs out of the box, and you said devil is in the detail. Elaborate a little bit on this.
Absolutely. So I think there's a saying, make it your business to understand your client's business. Because I think as legal professionals, it's not for us to only provide legally sound advice to our clients, but we have to provide advice and solutions which are commercially prudent and commercially sound. So I think for that reason, understanding your client's business, especially in the context of a dispute, when you need, because sometimes the details are so technical, if you don't understand how your client's business operates, you can't present their case in the best possible way. So I think that is very important. Of course, the devil is always in the detail, and I've found that on many occasions. The other two things I would say, which you also mentioned, is one is definitely you have most of the cases that you will get in today's day and age are not going to be straightforward. And the clients has come to you because there's a problem that they think you have the expertise to solve. So you have to be creative. You have to think outside the box. You can't be super risk averse. You have to really put your thinking cap on.
Yeah, so well said. So just to ask on your personal this thing, what is your daily work-life balance like, and how do you eat there? What do you like eating? What is your hobby? Where do you travel? What books you read? What makes your balance actually?
So I'm a Libra. So I really I strive to get that balance. I don't think I get it right all the time, but the things that feature in my day-to-day, one is exercise. That's, I think, really important. I do a lot of yoga. I try to do it 4 or 5 times a week. I do a lot of art. I do abstract art. So I paint on the side, and hopefully I'm going to do something with it one day. I am also a big foodie. I'm vegetarian, but I love food. I know some people think you can't be a foodie and a vegetarian. I think it's possible. And I really like to travel. And I think being in London, just at the tip of Europe, it's a great opportunity to be able to travel very easily. So I think I'm quite fortunate in that regard.
Wonderful. Shivani, it was such a pleasure to talk to you. You have given us so many amazing insight about your journey, and you are such a warrior, and I'll continue to watch your journey because the story has just started, because now India will be your focus, and I know how much plans you are making about it. Before we sign off, I'll just say exactly about your future journey now. राहें जुनूने शौक में बढ़ने की देर है, राहें जुनूने शौक में बढ़ने की देर है, मंजिल जगह जगह ना बना लूं तो बात क्या.
Wow.
So you'll make many such manjils, many milestones, many successes, many good opportunities are going to come your way. I bless you with all my sincerity. Thank you for coming on this show. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Sudhir, for having me, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.